Bayer, Bach, Brackett, Buckner-Webb, Cameron, Davis, Durst, Fulcher, Getty, Guthrie, Hagedorn, Hyder, Hill, Johnson, Keogh, Lacey, Lakey, Lodge, Martin, McKenzie, Mortimer, Nonini, Nuxall, Patrick, Pierce, Rice, Schmidt, Sidaway, Stennett, Thane, Tippett, Vick, Work, Winder, Bayer, Bach, Brackett, Buckner-Webb, Cameron, Davis, Fulcher, Getty, Hill, Lodge, Mortimer, Nonini, Patrick, Pierce, Sidaway, Vick, Winder,
What order of business are we in? 5. Roll call shows 22 present, 13 absent, excused. Quorum being present, Senate is in order. Senate is at the 5th order of business. Senator Davis.
Afternoon, Mr. President.
Good afternoon, Senator.
Mr. President, I had hoped for more.
That gracious invitation you made, I don't see why they wouldn't just come scampering in here.
Well, I thought so too. I'm with you on that.
Senator Getty and Senator Pierce will be added to the roll call.
Mr. President, if I might have a personal privilege.
You can have a personal privilege.
Thank you. Mr. President, Senators, here's what we're hoping to do. I'll take us to the 14th order in a moment. I'm not going to ask us to be resolved into the committee of the whole yet, and I don't want to hand out the amendments yet, but the majority party is going to have a caucus. We're going to go at ease, subject to the call of the chair, and we're going to have what I hope is a relatively short caucus, and then we'll return to the floor, resolve ourselves into the committee of the whole, and pick up the bills that have the X's with them. And so was kind of stalling a bit, hoping we might have more guests.
The chair will recognize Senator Mortimer, Senator Winder present at the 5th order of business.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent, Senate Godey, subject to the call of the chair.
Objection, Senate, be at ease.
Welcome to Idaho in Session, Legislature Live. Idaho in Session is sponsored by the Idaho State Broadcasters Association, the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Foundation, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Association of Counties, Idaho Cable Telecommunications Association, Association of Idaho Cities, and your contributions to the Idaho Public Television Endowment.
You give me the word, Jennifer, and then
Okay.
we won't go until you give me the word. Senate will come to order. Senate's fifth order of business, Senators Baer, Brackett, Buckner-Webb, Fulcher, Lodge, Mortimer, Nonini, Patrick, and Sidaway will all be recognized present at the fifth order of business. Madam Secretary.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that all petitions, resolutions, and memorials be read by number, author, and title only, and the journal show they've been read at length.
Hearing no objection, so ordered.
In the Senate, Senate Resolution Number 101 by Judiciary and Rules Committee, a Senate resolution stating findings of the Senate and providing for the amendment of Rule 8 of the Rules of the Senate relating to records. In the Senate, Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 129 by Judiciary and Rules Committee, a concurrent resolution stating findings of the legislature and providing for the amendment of Joint Rule 18 of the Joint Rules of the Senate and House of Representatives of the State of Idaho relating to statements of purpose and fiscal notes. In the Senate, Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 130 by Judiciary and Rules Committee, a concurrent resolution stating findings of the legislature and providing for the addition of a new Joint Rule 21 of the Joint Rules of the Senate and House of Representatives of the State of Idaho relating to recording of proceedings of the chambers and committees.
The introduction. Senate Resolution 101, 120, Senate Concurrent Resolution 129, Senate Concurrent Resolution 130 will refer to the Judiciary and Rules Committee for printing.
There is no further business in the fifth order, Mr. President.
Senate will advance sixth order of business, reports to standing committees.
March 20th, 2013, the Judiciary and Rules Committee reports that enrolled Senate Bill 1050, 1081, 1083, 1058, 1014, and Senate Bill 1032 were delivered to the Office of the Governor at 10:35 a.m. March 20th, 2013. Lodge Chairman.
The report will be filed in the Office of Secretary.
March 20th, 2013, the Judiciary and Rules Committee reports that Senate Bill 1093 and Senate Bill 1097 as amended have been correctly enrolled. Lodge Chairman.
The President has signed Senate Bills 1093 and Senate Bill 1097 as amended, and they will be transmitted to the House for the signature of the Speaker.
March 20th, 2013, the Finance Committee reports out House Bill 303, 304, 305, 306, 310, and Senate Bill 1186 and recommend that they do pass. Cameron, Chairman.
House Bills 303, 304, 305, 306, 310, and Senate Bill 1086 will be referred to the 12th order of business.
March 20th, 2013, the Judiciary and Rules Committee reports out House Bill 124 and recommend that it do pass. Lodge, Chairman.
House Bill 124 will be referred to the 12th order of business, second reading.
There is no further business in the sixth order, Mr. President.
Senator Davis.
I ask unanimous consent to advance to the ninth order of business.
Without objection, the Senate will advance to ninth order of business, consideration messages from the House.
March 20th, 2013. Mr. President, I transmit herewith enrolled House Bill 41, 170, 214, 224, and House Bill 220 for the signature of the President. Alexander, Chief Clerk.
The President has signed House Bills 41, 170, 214, 224, 220, and they will be returned to the House.
March 20th, 2013. Mr. President, I return herewith Senate Bill 1025, 1057 as amended, 1091 as amended, 1098, 1048 as amended, 1034, 1035, 1128, 1129, 1130, 1131, 1132, 1139, 1140, 1143, 1144, 1063, 1100, 1033 as amended, 1061, 1062 as amended, 1142, 1006 as amended, and Senate Bill 1064, which have been signed by the Speaker. Alexander, Chief Clerk.
Senate Bills 1025, 1057 is amended, 1091 is amended, 1098, 1048 is amended, 1034, 1035, 1128, 1129, 1130, 1131, 1132, 1139, 1140, 1143, and 1144, 1063, 1100, 1033 is amended, 1061, 1062 is amended, 1142, 1006 is amended, and 1064 will refer to the Judiciary and Rules Committee for the transmittal to the Governor.
There is no further business in the ninth order, Mr. President.
Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to advance to the 11th order of business.
Without objection, Senate advance to the 11th order of business. Introduction, first reading of bills. Senate's at the 11th order of business. Senator Davis.
Consent that all bills on first reading be read by number, author, and title only, and the general shall have been read at length.
Hearing no objections, so ordered.
In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1187 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the Office of the State Board of Education for fiscal year 2014. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1188 by Finance Committee, an act appropriating monies to the State Board of Education for community colleges for 2014. In the Senate, Senate Bill number 1189 by Judiciary and Rules Committee, an act relating to statutory interpretation to provide for principles for statutory construction of the Idaho Code.
Senator Block has an excused absence this afternoon. Senate Bill 1087, Senate Bill 1100, and Senate Bill 1189 will refer to the 12th order of business, second reading.
No.
Oh, excuse me, to go Judiciary and Rules Committee for printing.
There is no further business in the 11th order, Mr. President.
Now we're in the 12th order. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to advance to the 14th order of business.
Without objection, the Senate will advance the 14th order of business. Senate's at the 14th order of business. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, Senators, we're going to go at recess. Majority Party is going to have a caucus, not at recess, at ease, immediately upon going at ease. And so if we could encourage the Majority Party to hurry up as quickly as possible, we hope to be able to finish our work quickly and then return to the floor and then go into the amending order and pick up the bills. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent. Senator Goody, to call the chair.
Without objection, the Senate will be at ease, and the Democrats and the President will eat all the goodies in the other room. And won't we? That was a lot of work.
Well, especially because I thought we were going to go to recess and I'd have time to get everything.
Well, you did great.
Thank you.
And you watched me and make sure I didn't send stuff. Come on. Take all the pages and all the... You know where to find me. I'll be downstairs.
State Broadcasters Association, the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Foundation, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Association of Counties, Idaho Cable Telecommunications Association, Association of Idaho Cities, and your contributions to the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Welcome to Idaho in Session, Legislature Live. Idaho in Session is sponsored by the Idaho State Broadcasters Association, the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Foundation, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Association of Counties, Idaho Cable Telecommunications Association, Association of Idaho Cities, and your contributions to the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Welcome to Idaho in Session, Legislature Live. Idaho in Session is sponsored by the Idaho State Broadcasters Association, the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Foundation, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Association of Counties, Idaho Cable Telecommunications Association, Association of Idaho Cities, and your contributions to the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Welcome to Idaho in Session, Legislature Live. Idaho in Session is sponsored by the Idaho State Broadcasters Association, the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Foundation, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Association of Counties, Idaho Cable Telecommunications Association, Association of Idaho Cities, and your contributions to the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Welcome to Idaho in Session, Legislature Live. Idaho in Session is sponsored by the Idaho State Broadcasters Association, the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Foundation, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Association of Counties, Idaho Cable Telecommunications Association, Association of Idaho Cities, and your contributions to the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Welcome to Idaho in Session, Legislature Live. Idaho in Session is sponsored by the Idaho State Broadcasters Association, the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Foundation, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Association of Counties, Idaho Cable Telecommunications Association, Association of Idaho Cities, and your contributions to the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Welcome to Idaho in Session, Legislature Live. Idaho in Session is sponsored by the Idaho State Broadcasters Association, the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Foundation, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Association of Counties, Idaho Cable Telecommunications Association, Association of Idaho Cities, and your contributions to the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Welcome to Idaho in Session, Legislature Live. Idaho in Session is sponsored by the Idaho State Broadcasters Association, the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Foundation, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Association of Counties, Idaho Cable Telecommunications Association, Association of Idaho Cities, and your contributions to the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Welcome to Idaho in Session, Legislature Live. Idaho in Session is sponsored by the Idaho State Broadcasters Association, the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Foundation, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Association of Counties, Idaho Cable Telecommunications Association, Association of Idaho Cities, and your contributions to the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Welcome to Idaho in Session, Legislature Live, the Senate channel. Idaho in Session is sponsored by the Idaho State Broadcasters Association, the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Foundation, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Association of Counties, Idaho Cable Telecommunications Association, Association of Idaho Cities, and your contributions to the Idaho Public Television Endowment.
Oh, we got an even number too. Because block's gone.
Put your pajamas on. I know, I told Sarah, I was like, you know, the second session was like, I get more minutes. I stay behind the desk. But I wouldn't do that.
Senate will come to order. Senate's the 14th order of business. Senator Davis.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole. The Senator from 20, Senator Winder, be directed to take the chair.
Without objection, the Senate will be at ease, subject to call of the chair, and Senator Winder will take the chair.
Stick around. Don't be taken off on me.
He'll be in the Smith room. Whenever you're ready, just let me know.
Committee of the Whole Senate will come to order. The Secretary will read the list of bills before the committee.
Senate Bill 1118 with one amendment, House Bill 205 with no amendments, House Bill 206 with two amendments, House Bill 221 with four amendments, Senate Bill 1147 with three amendments, Senate Bill 1148 with three amendments, Senate Bill 1166 with three amendments.
Just a little bit of direction as we go through this process today. We'll handle the first one. We don't have any conflict in the amendments, and so it'll be pretty much what we've done in the past. We're going to have some today with conflicts, and our procedure will be is if there's a conflict in the amendments, we'll go through all the amendments and then come back and start the vote process on those. If there are amendments that are being proposed to a bill that are not in conflict, we'll handle those in the order that they were received, and they will be handled in a separate, just as we would any other amendment. Hope that's clear to everybody, and just be a little patient. We've got a lot to do here today, and hopefully we can get through it quickly. And if we need to go at ease and clarify anything for anybody, please feel free to ask for that, and we'll try and do that. And with that, House or the Committee of the Whole will now have before it Senate Bill number 1118. Being no objection, the bill will be considered read in full. Being no objection, amendment to Section 1 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator McKenzie, seconded by Senator Hill, that the amendment to Section 1 be adopted.
Senator McKenzie is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Senators. I think this is the only one of the bills that we have that have amendments that doesn't have multiple or competing amendments. But that's not to say that this is completely consensus or without controversy. I can get into that if we are debating the bill on the bill itself. But with respect to what this amendment does, the bill and this amendment relate to what we call the three-tier system in Idaho, where we have statutes that separate a brewery, a distributor, and a retailer, such as a bar, when it comes to alcohol distribution. It's kind of a legacy of prohibition and earlier drinking patterns in America before that, when we consumed alcohol at levels that might shock you, which led to prohibition. But when we did away with prohibition, we put deliberate inefficiency in the process by requiring those to be separate. The bill itself relates to whether or not a brewery can have a financial interest in a distributor. What the amendment does is say that if there's a cancellation or termination or failure to renew a contract between that Idaho distributor and a brewery, that the brewery could have a limited financial interest, basically up to a year, in order to transition that to another distributor, another owner of that distribution line. This isn't. I wouldn't say this is consensus language. It's not. But the dispute was between basically the distributors and a particular brewery who wanted the possibility to have some kind of financial interest in distributors. This is a little bit closer to coming together between the two positions, but It's not, it's not consensus, but I do think it addresses most of the concern of that brewery, which is ability to transition an Idaho distributor to another Idaho distributor to take that over, to be able to have some financial interest in that during the year period when there's a transition there. With that, Mr. President, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition?
Mr. President.
Senator Sidway.
Mr. President, I stand in debate in opposition of this bill. You know, Senators, I wish you all knew the history on how we got to the 14th order here. To me, this was just some work with a couple of good people that work here in the legislature. They failed to get people to work this bill in the House. It brought it here. This amendment, in my opinion, is not needed. What we're trying to protect here is a three-tier system, a system where you can produce your alcohol, your wine, or your beer, a portion that delivers that system to the retail system. You have those three parts. If the big brewers are able to vertically integrate far enough that they own the distribution system, then they're not going to allow those little breweries to survive. They're not going to distribute their products around the state. And that's all this is about. This was just a mess up. This bill is just fine without this amendment. And I encourage your no vote. Thank you.
Is there further debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator McKenzie is recognized to close debate.
Great, thank you, and I appreciate the comments from the senator from 35. And I probably should say the bill itself was brought by the Idaho distributors. This amendment was also brought by the Idaho distributors. There was an attempt to try to reach some consensus between the two interests, between the Idaho distributors and the brewery. They did not get there. I think there was a good faith effort on both parts, but the distributors themselves brought us this language and asked us to pass it. So I think the senator from 35 has a valid point that the bill as it originally did protects the three-tier system, but I also think that this does as well. And it limits that financial interest that any brewer could have to that transition period, and they cannot retain any financial interest after that. But it does accommodate someone acquiring that, an Idahoan or Idaho business acquiring that distributorship and having some funding assistance or financing in order to do that. So I think it does protect both the three-tier system and our Idaho distributors, and it was their proposal that you've got in the amendment before you. Thank you, Mr. President. With that, debate's closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 1 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. No. Chair's in doubt. And I would ask those that voted in favor of the amendment to stand. Can be seated. Amendment is adopted. Being no objection, the correction of the title be considered read.
Moved by Senator McKenzie, seconded by Senator Hill, that the correction to title be adopted.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Correction titles adopted.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I move when the committee rise, a report is had under consideration, Senate Bill 1118, return same as amended without recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, second the motion.
Heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, and motion carries. Committee of the whole now are in consideration House Bill 206. There being no objection, the bill will be considered read in full. There being no objections, amendment to Section 2 will be considered read in full. And the chairman does declare that there is a conflict between amendments A1 and A3. Again, in our procedure, we'll present all of these. We'll have the debate and closing debate. And because they are in conflict, then we'll come back and vote in the order of A1 and A3.
Moved by Senator Mortimer, seconded by Senator Fulcher, that the amendment to Section 2 be adopted.
Senator Mortimer is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senators, I'd like to just visit with you a little bit about this amendment and kind of walk you through it. If you go to page 7, you'll notice that we're adding the words, and we're adding that the average amount of funding received per public charter school shall not exceed the average amount of funding received by each school district pursuant to the provisions of Section 33906. 33906 is the Bond Levy Equalization Fund. And just to give you a little background on this bill, our public charter schools are asking for some small amount of money to help them with their facilities. As you know, at this point, they don't have any monies for they cannot go out for a bond levy. They cannot participate, even in a supplemental levy. So they've made this request, and the fiscal note for this is $1.4 million. But to me, when we started looking at the bill, there was no direct nexus between what was happening with our traditional public schools and what we were suggesting to happen with our public charter schools. And our traditional public schools, besides having the opportunity to go to the general public and get their facilities taken care of, they also have access to the general fund. And the monies that they have access to the general fund come in 3 areas. Basically, they come in the bond levy equalization, which in our appropriation budget last year and I believe this year is $17,400,000. Then they have access, for example, in an emergency maintenance fund that was set up, and the Plummer-Worley District took advantage of that when they cannot pass a bond levy equalization, a bond levy, then they have the option of, if that fails X amount of times, and that's all in statute, that the state can step in and build a facility for them and assess a tax and get their facilities that way. The other general funds that goes to our traditional public schools is in their facilities maintenance match. And our, the lottery has a portion of money that goes to that, and then the state steps up with a maintenance match of that. Now, that one's a little grayer in that our charter schools are given a levy that's equal to the mean. And so that portion of the general fund is a little bit in more of a gray area. But there wasn't a nexus, and so this amendment will actually create a nexus where they're using a formula that the charter schools have agreed to, and they're saying, okay, we want $1.4 million to go towards these physical facilities, and then that will increase so much a year depending upon the increase in school funding. But it's capped. By this amendment, we actually cap the amount that can go towards this charter school bill. And that would be on, and what this language does is it says it takes just the bond levy equalization fund, divides it by the traditional public schools that are eligible, which are 115, and then times that
times that by the number of public charter schools. And so that's the cap. And that's what this language does. The other portion of this amendment has to do with the charter schools have decided that they feel it's important to have a facilitator fee, to pay those that are basically authorizing them. And as you know, right now there's only 2 facilitators, basically, and that is the school district, if it's authorized by the school district, or by the public charter commission, the Public Charter School Commission. And so this amendment will actually limit the amount that's coming to them to those amounts that are actual expenses plus setting up a 15% reserve. And the reserve has the option of being waived if the authorizer decides that, or facilitator, whichever name we want to give it, is basically willing and saying we don't need that reserve. And so that's what this is doing. I would be happy to yield any other time that I have, Mr. Chairman, to the senator from 4 if he feels like he needs to add just a teeny bit. Thank you.
Senator from 4, you have about 20 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason for the 15% is there's an allowance for 10% for charters to join membership, or for membership fees for organizations or associations that provide technical assistance, training, and advocacy. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Senator Cameron.
Mr. President, would the senator from 30 yield to a couple questions?
Senator from 30, will you yield?
Mr. Chairman, I would.
Thank you.
Cameron.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good senator from 30. First of all, thank you. I think your amendment is certainly working the right direction on this bill. And I appreciate, first of all, your willingness to disclose the amendment that you're working on with me a little bit earlier. And so I hope you don't take these questions as being adversarial, but really questions that I'm trying to wrap my mind around how this would work. I actually have 5 questions, and I hope I'm not going to burden you with them. But the first question is fairly simple, and I just need a clarification. The start of the amendment uses the term "and." The existing bill already has 1 cap. This bill places another cap. So I'm trying to figure out, is it an "and"? Is it an "or"? Is it a greater of or lesser of? Does the charter school get to decide, you know, I met this cap, but I didn't meet this one? Help me with that. Is it?
Mr. Chairman and Senator from 27, I believe that it is an "and," meaning there is a cap in the existing formula, and this cap also applies. So whichever cap is the most restrictive, that is the cap that applies.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. May I ask another question?
Do you yield one more question?
Mr. Chairman, 1 or 4? Sorry.
Senator Cameron?
Thank you, good senator from 30. I appreciate your patience. I'm really just trying to understand this. You may have answered this in your opening debate, but I don't see it in the language. So I need to clarify and have you help me with that. Line 4 says that the charter school shall not exceed the average amount, but it doesn't specify as to it's the average of last year, the average of the last 3 years, the average of the last 5 years. So it is an average of what? That's the first part. That's question number 2.
Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding that it's the average in the year in which it is calculated, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Senator Cameron.
Mr. Chairman, for question number 3, if the good senator would yield further.
Mr. Chairman, I will.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good senator from 30. Where we might need help is, I'm not sure that the amendment says that, but it's important that I know your intention, and that I think we have on the record what the intention is. You mentioned in your opening debate that then the average would apply towards the total of 115 districts, but the language doesn't speak to that. One could interpret the language that it applies to the 58 districts who actually applied for bond levy equalization, which then makes that average dollar amount much higher. It moves from about 100,000 total to about 280,000. So I'm wondering if it's your intention that it apply to all districts because they have the potential. Every district has the potential of using bond levy equalization, even though only 58 are, or whether it's the average of those that are using it.
Senator Mortimer?
Mr. Chairman, Senator from 27, that's a great question. And at least my intention, and I believe the intention of the amendment, is that it apply to all those that have the option of taking advantage of the bond levy equalization, which I believe right now is 115.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, would the senator yield to
Senator
my
Mortimer,
fourth
do you yield
question?
to another question?
Mr. Chairman, I would.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Cameron, state your question.
Thank you again, good senator from 30. My fourth question has to do with the facilitator fee, which, by the way, I think is a great idea and should be in the bill. The problem I'm having with the language is the language appears inadvertently to be a bit circular, and it uses on line 8 the term include. I'm wondering if that term should be calculated or some other term, because it seems to be circular to include the fee in the proportional share, but then the proportional share is derived by the fee, and so it sort of inadvertently goes in a circular nature. I'm hopeful you can help me.
Mortimer.
Mr. Chairman, Senator from 27, I believe I would have to leave that to someone else's discretion, Mr. Chairman and Senator from 27. That I'm not sure I can completely explain the circular motion that you're speaking about.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Cameron.
For one last question.
Senator Cameron, state your question.
Mr. Chairman and good senator from 30, if he's willing to yield.
Mr. Chairman, I would yield.
Senator Cameron.
The 15% that spoke of on line 10, when is that calculation determined? Is that at the end of the school year? Is that 15% fund balance at the beginning of the previous school year? When is that calculation to take place? I don't believe the amendment speaks to it.
Senator Mortimer.
Mr. Chairman, Senator from 27, I believe that you are right. It doesn't specifically say the year. It's the intention that it is the year in which it's applied.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Smith.
Mr. Chairman, if the sponsor of the amendment, Senator from 30, would yield,
Senator Moore, would you yield to the question?
have an inquiry.
Yes, I would, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Smith, state your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just, to be honest, I don't understand the process, and I'm hoping you can help me out. So I'm looking at line 7 and 8. It says, which in the case of public charter schools authorized by Public Charter School Commission. Now, the question I have, so in my district, there's a charter school that's authorized by our district. And would this, and then there's also one that's authorized by the state commission. And so does that differentiate between those two charter schools?
Senator Mortimer.
Mr. Chairman and Senator from 5, I believe. Thank you. I would need to take just a moment, perhaps, if you'll give me a minute, or if the good chairman, there might be someone that can answer it a little quicker or a little easier. But I would have to go back and specifically look The intent, as I understand it, is that it goes to any authorizer. Perhaps I could yield for a moment to the good senator from 4 and see if he has an answer perhaps different than myself.
Senator Getty, you're recognized to yield to this question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good Senator from 5. The operative language for charter schools that are chartered by a public school is found on line 6, actual documented. So the authorizer would have to submit a bill to the school district for their expenses. And then the school district would have to submit a bill to the charter for their expenses, and that's what the charter would pay. The other language that starts on line 6, or actually on line 7, deals with charter schools that are chartered by the commission.
Okay. Thank you, Senator from 4, for the help.
Senator Smith?
Thank you. So just for clarification, Mr. Chairman?
You have a question?
And I guess, can I direct it to the
co-sponsor
or the second?
How will you, Senator Smith, state your question.
Thank you again. And so I very much appreciate that. I understand, but it sounds to me like your description does say that those 2 charter schools authorized would be handled differently according to this amendment.
Senator Getty. And Mr. Chairman, good Senator from 5, the actual handling of the expenses would be different. Obviously, when we're dealing with the Charter Commission, we're appropriating money here for the Charter Commission. It operates under the Office of the State Board of Education. But the idea is the same in either aspect. We're trying to get the charters only to pay the actual expenses that the board would, or the commission would incur for oversight of that charter. But there's also then this piece built in for 15% to handle the 10% that they're allowed for membership fees. And I think that's what's confusing it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Is there debate in opposition? Hearing none. Because of the conflict, we will now have the amendment to the bill considered, which is Amendment A3. There being no objection, amendment of the bill will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Durst, seconded by Senator Work, that the amendment to the bill be adopted.
Senator Durst recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the opportunity to have this amendment considered by the committee. A couple introductory points that I think should be made, and then I'll try to get into the meat of the amendment. First, I think that in debate of the previous amendment, I think that you heard something that was important. For that money. In the case that they can't pass that, there are limited opportunities to get money from the general fund, but those are also, in the case of the example that the Senator gave with regard to the Plummer-Worley School District, there was a tax assessed to repay that debt. What we're looking for in this amendment is to keep things as close to the status quo for other districts, for charter schools, as they are for the rest of our state's traditional public schools. Amendment A3 will create a revolving loan fund that would be bonded from the state of Idaho with its AAA credit rating, which would yield a much lower interest rate. We've heard testimony by those that seek to have some money for facilities that it can be expensive to loan money as a charter school because they have little collateral, they don't have much credit history. So this amendment solves that problem. It gives them access to a loan fund that would create a low-interest loan that could get access to a large sum of money. Another dilemma, and one of the major benefits to this legislation, is we could talk about a large enough sum of money to actually be able to purchase a building or to build a school. The legislation as it's currently drafted wouldn't provide that. It would simply give a small sum of money that you couldn't ever use to build a facility or to purchase a building. This amendment allows them to be able to do that, so it really solves the problem. The other issue, I think, is that we've got a situation right now of where the money comes from. It seems to me that it's inappropriate to be spending general fund monies on an annual basis to fund the expansion of facilities for charter schools. I support the funding of charter schools, just not through the general fund. This legislation, as it's drafted, would prevent the spending, would not use money out of the general fund, but would create a separate fund to be used. The idea here is to give charter schools the option to be able to get money for their facilities, but then have the responsibility, just like every other school district in the state, to pay that money back. And I think that's where there's superiority in equity and there's superiority in access. If a charter school has the fiduciary ability to pay back a loan that's bonded and held for by the state, then they certainly should have access to that money. And that's what this amendment seeks to do. I think I'll stop there for right now and see if there's any questions or opposition debate. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Geddes.
Mr. Chairman, I thank Good Senator from 18 for working on this. I would point out that currently 24 charter schools in this state lease or rent buildings. That is because they can't afford to buy buildings. While a loan fund may help them buy buildings, I would submit, with the limited funding that they have, how are they going to repay the loan to the revolving loan account any easier than they can to a bank? It may help a few charters, but it's certainly not going to help the bulk. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there further debate in opposition?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Work.
Am I allowed at this point to ask a question of the senator from District 18?
The senator from District 18 yield.
Yes, Mr. President, I will. Mr. Chairman, I would.
Senator Work, state your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator from 18. I just want to make sure I'm straight. The money the money from your amendment is directly related and only related to facilities. I'm trying to figure out if in the bill that's being amended, if that money that is being directed toward charter schools is fully restricted to spending only on facilities.
Senator Durst.
Mr. Chairman, Senator from 17, to respond to the inquiry, I would say that I can't speak to the intent of the other amendment. What I can say is that the concern has been, and what we've heard testified to us in the education arena, has been that there hasn't been money for facilities to purchase facilities. And so what I'm saying is that if that's really the problem, that we don't have money to purchase facilities, what I'm saying is that the other amendment doesn't provide enough money for a charter school to actually purchase facilities. This amendment does. And certainly if charter schools have the ability to pay a lease, we can make the assumption that with the right credit terms, for the same amount of money that they're paying for their lease, they could also purchase a property and start building up some equity and get some collateral to be able to continue to do other things to serve the students that they're educating.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, good Senator.
Senator Durst recognized closed debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, I would say just in closing, how much time do I have, Mr. Chairman?
You have 5 minutes to close.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This loan fund, the way that it would work, just so that everyone has a feel, it would use the permanent Building Fund Advisory Council, which is made up of financial experts in the state. They have a lot of experience in bonding. They know what the state's bond market looks like. So they would have a lot of experience in that. They'd also be able to review and approve those applications, so they would know whether or not a institution that's seeking this sort of money would be able to have the solvency to be able to pay it back. And it seems to me that if the objective is to be able to get money into the hands of charter schools so they can build a building or they can purchase a building, this is going to be the most effective way of doing it. Unless we as a state want to start appropriating on an annual basis $10, $15 million, we won't be putting our charter schools in a position to actually be able to purchase a facility or build their own. That's the reality. If you look at some analysis that was done of current legislation, some school districts would get maybe $10,000, or some charter schools would get maybe $10,000 annually from this. Well, tell me what kind of building you can build for $10,000. What kind of building can you purchase for $10,000? You can't. And so if we're really trying to solve the problem, instead of just throw some money at it, then let's actually make the investment in these charter schools and make sure that they repay that investment when they get done. I'd urge the support of the amendment, and I appreciate the chairman and the rest of the body time. Thank you.
Debate being closed, the process we're going to do now is we're going to go back and vote on A1, and if it passes, A3 will be considered lost. If A1 fails, we will go back and consider A3 and correction to title in A3. So the question, debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 2 and A1 be adopted? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. No. Chair's in doubt. All in favor of the amendment, please rise. Please be seated. Amendment to Section 2 is adopted. The A3 has failed. Senator Fulcher.
Mr. Chairman, I move when the committee rise that a report it has had under consideration House Bill 206 returned same as amended without recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
Heard the motion. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. We'll now have under consideration House Bill 221. And just so you know, this one has 4 amendments. We have, we'll consider Amendment A2, A3, and A9 as conflicted amendments. And I know this is going to be a long process of going through this. And we'll consider A6 as a separate amendment, as it does not conflict with either of the other 3 amendments. So having under consideration House Bill 221, being no objection, the bill will be considered read in full. Being no objection, amendment to Section 2 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Getty, second by Senator Thane, that the amendment to Section 2 be adopted.
Senator Getty is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You'll find on page 4 of the bill 335202A sub E provides that a non-sectarian charitable organization could be authorized by the Department of Education to be an authorizer of charter schools. The amendment to Section 2 in this amendment simply deletes that provision. Mr. Chairman, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Getty is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I should also mention that the other language dealing with 501c3s on page 6 and 7 and page 8 are also deleted in the First Amendment. Debate is closed.
Debate is closed. We'll now have under consideration amendment to bill. There be no objection. Amendment to bill will be considered read.
Moved by Senator Getty, seconded by Senator Thane, that the amendment to the bill be adopted.
Senator Getty is recognized to open debate.
Mr. Chairman, this also changes the language so it accommodates the lack of a 501c3 found in sub E before.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Getty is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
We'll now have our consideration amendment to Section 5. There being no objection, amendment to Section 5 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Getty, seconded by Senator Thane, that the amendment to Section 5 be adopted.
Senator Getty is recognized to open debate.
And Mr. Chairman, I guess I got out of line. That was my last debate, was on Section 5. Sorry about that.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Getty is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Now under consideration amendment to Section 18. There being no objection, amendment will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Getty, seconded by Senator Thane, that the amendment to Section 18 be adopted.
Senator Getty is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This just corrects the numbering.
Debate being open, is there a debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Getty is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Now under consideration correction. No, we're not going to do the correction title. We're going to go to A3. There being no objection, amendment to Section 2 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Durst, seconded by Senator Lacey, that the amendment to Section 2 be adopted.
Senator Durst recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity of the chairman and also the committee. I can tell you that I'm missing a birthday party with my oldest son right now. So I'm missing barbecue ribs and fun with my kids. So as much as all of you, I hate being here. Probably maybe a little bit more because I'm missing an important time for my kids. But this is important, so this is what we're doing. Mr. Chairman, I would say that the amendment to Section 8, to this Section 2, does something pretty similar in many ways to what the previous amendment attempted to do, just a little bit more in depth. If you have the opportunity to look at the bill before you on House Bill 221, you'll note that there was an addition of 3 new types of authorizers for charter schools. Currently in Idaho Code, we have permit the Public Charter School Commission and any local school district to authorize charter schools. That's done for a lot of reasons. For one, because we as a Senate have the opportunity to confirm appointments to the Charter School Commission so that we know what their philosophy is in approving or denying a charter school, and also the school district, because we talk about them as a locally elected members so that we have the ability as a public to know what their philosophy is in approving or denying a charter school. The 3 new authorizers as proposed don't fall under that category at all, and in fact we have no control directly or indirectly over those authorizers, and that's a concern to me. It seems to me that it would be beneficial, and from a state policy standpoint, that if someone wants to authorize a charter school, that we as a state should have some say in who that organization is. Right now, the legislation as it stands would seek to include public colleges and universities and community colleges, private, non-sectarian colleges and universities, and also 501c3 organizations, as was alluded to from the senator from 4 in his previous debate. Personally, I don't have much an issue if a university or a college, a public institution, wants to do that. but there could be problems with that if there's an overzealousness. What I do have a special issue with is the subsection G and subsection E with regard to non-sectarian private institutions and also 501c3s. You may ask yourself why. What this does is it gives, in particular, our private career colleges an unfair competitive advantage in creating a charter school which they may then utilize to manipulate students to enter into their private career college after completing high school. And I think that that's an inappropriate policy for the state. I could see all sorts of problems with this because what would happen is we as state taxpayers will start funding these private operations through general fund dollars, and if we pass legislation that funds facilities for charter schools, then what we will be doing, in essence and directly, is paying private companies to open schools in the state of Idaho. That's problematic to me, and I don't think that that's a policy of the state that we really want to go down. We've never said that we want to pay state tax dollars for a private school to open, and if that's a policy that we'd like to change, then we should change our Constitution, but it seems to me this is an end around it. And so all this amendment seeks to do is just restore to the status quo, that is to allow this two current authorizers, which are either confirmed by the state senate or elected by our by our patrons or our local district, and let them be the deciders as to whether or not a charter school should be created or not. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the time and look forward to the debate.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Senator Getty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Senate, I would purport to you that we do have some oversight over colleges and universities and community colleges in this state when we set their budgets. Understand that what we're doing here is we're establishing the opportunity for authorizers, not for charter schools. Authorizers that will have to be approved by the State Board of Education. Or I'm sorry, the State Department of Education. I am pretty comfortable with going to the University of Idaho if they want to be an authorizer and having them apply. And I see charters authorized by the University of Idaho being excellent training grounds for the people in their colleges of education. Someplace they need the practical experience, and that's a great opportunity. As far as I can tell, Part D would only apply to one institution in this state, and that would be the College of Idaho. I'm not aware that they're interested in becoming a charter authorizer, but it would give them that opportunity. One of the concerns that we had when only local boards of trustees authorized charters was the inability to expand our number of charters, and that's why we formed the Charter Commission. That has worked well. This is just one more step down that road. I don't see this as an opportunity for an overzealous expansion of our charter school numbers, but it certainly offers another avenue for choice. Thank you.
Further debate in opposition? Seeing none, Senator Durst recognized. Closed debate.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple comments in regard to the debate in opposition. I think that, first of all, as I readily admit, I don't have much of an issue if our public higher education institutions want to do this, and perhaps the amendment's a little broad because of that. But what I would say is that if you look at the language as it's currently written on subsection D, it says a private nonprofit Idaho-based. Now, it does not say a 501c3 organization. All it says is nonprofit, and I think that's an important distinction, because all you would have to do is have a sub S chapter S corporation that you set up that's defined as nonprofit that has no profit showing, and that would meet the terms of this law. It does not say that under IRS code they have to be 501c3 compliant. It just says they have to be nonprofit, and because it's not defined as to what nonprofit is, I could easily litigate that to mean an organization that does not have profit year over year. And so many of these organizations may choose to do this, and therefore a private organization may choose to set this up as a subchapter S corporation, take advantage of this loophole, and then be able to take advantage of state tax dollars to set up a private school that they could then send to their their career colleges later. So I would encourage support. I appreciate the time. Thank you again.
Debate is closed. We'll now have under consideration Amendment A9. There being no objection, amendment to Section 2 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Getty, seconded by Senator Mortimer, that the amendment to Section 2 be adopted.
Senator Getty is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. This suggestion came from a concern that the Attorney General had. The language that appears in the bill as was presented talks about contract. That creates challenges in that we have expanded opportunities, I'll say, when we're dealing with contractual law. The legislature has less opportunity to address changes that might need to be made. So the suggestion was to restate contract using the word performance certificate. And in Section 2, you're provided a definition. And, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to continue the debate on the rest of the amendments because all it does is it changes the word contract to certificate. With that, Mr. Chairman, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Getty is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A very simple change with the potential to give this legislature better oversight. Debate is closed.
Committee of the Whole now for consideration amendment to Section 4. There being no objection, amendment to Section 4 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Getty, seconded by Senator Mortimer, that the amendment to Section 4 be adopted.
Senator Getty is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ditto.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Getty is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Now for consideration amendment to Section 5. There being no objection, the amendment will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Getty, seconded by Senator Mortimer, that the amendment to Section 5 be adopted.
Senator Getty is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ditto.
Debate being open, is there a debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Getty is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, we'll now for consideration amendment to Section 6. There being no objection, amendment will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Getty, seconded by Senator Mortimer, that the amendment to Section 6 be adopted.
Senator Getty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm getting good exercise. Ditto.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Getty is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Now for consideration amendment to Section 7. There being no objection, the amendment to Section 7 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Getty, seconded by Senator Mortimer, that the amendment to Section 7 be adopted.
Senator Getty is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ditto.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Getty is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, we'll now have into consideration amendment to Section 8. There being no objection, amendment will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Getty, seconded by Senator Mortimer, that the amendment to Section 8
virus
be adopted.
database has been updated.
Senator Getty is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just refer to my prior debate.
And it was sterling. Thank you. Is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Getty is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, we'll now have into consideration amendment to Section 12. Being no objection, the amendment will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Getty, seconded by Senator Mortimer, that the amendment to Section 12 be adopted.
Senator Getty is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ditto.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Getty is recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Now have into consideration amendment to Section 13. Being no objection, the amendment will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Getty, seconded by Senator Mortimer, that the amendment to Section 13 be adopted.
Senator Getty is recognized to open debate.
Mr. Chairman, I just refer to my prior debate.
there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Geddes recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Quick question. We're doing 14 now? Okay. We'll now have your consideration amendment to section 14. There be no objection. The amendment will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Geddes, seconded by Senator Mortimer, that the amendment to Section 14 be adopted.
Senator Geddes recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just refer to my prior debate.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Geddes recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, we'll now have to consideration amendment to section 15. There being no objection, amendment will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Geddes, seconded by Senator Mortimer, that the amendment to Section 15 be adopted.
Senator Geddes recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the last time, I'd refer to my prior debate.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Geddes recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is closed.
Okay, just for clarification, what we're going to do is we're going to go back now and vote on A2, and the first section does have a conflict. Should the amendment to A2 to Section 2 be adopted, the amendment to Section 2A3 would be killed.
Mr. Chairman, could the Senate go at ease for just a moment, please?
May the whole be at ease. I understand that we're just going to go through them. So what do you think we're doing? I would just clarifying that if that section passes, that section is dead on A3 because it's in conflict.
Pressure, Roy.
Association of Idaho Cities, and your contributions to the Idaho Public Television Endowment.
Committee of the whole Senate will come back to order. Just for clarification, and apparently some of you didn't hear exactly what I said, but because we're going to go through and vote on the amendments in order, starting with A2, and I just was clarifying for you that if amendment to Section 2 in A2 passes, because there was a conflict with A3 Section 2, it would be lost. Doesn't impact the rest of the amendments. Everybody clear with that? Okay. The question is, shall amendment to Section 2 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Nay. With the nays stand. You're a noisy bunch. The ayes have it, and amendment to Section 2 is adopted. We'll now have under consideration amendment to the bill.
Mr. Chairman, ask unanimous consent, Senate, or the committee of the whole go at ease.
Committee of the whole be at ease, subject to call of the chair. Now what? Committee of the whole Senate returned to order, and we were in the process of voting on the amendment to Section 2, or amendment to bill. Which one we were doing? Come here, Secretary. We were on amendment 2, right? Okay. So I was right. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, could you place your microphone a little closer to your mouth, please?
I'm trying not to have it close.
Okay, that's all right. All right.
Is that close enough now? All right. We were in the process of voting. The nays had stood, and I'd ask now for the ayes to stand. The ayes have it. Amendment to Section 2 is adopted. Now, having in consideration amendment to the bill, debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to the bill be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Thank you. The ayes have it. Amendment to the bill is adopted. Now, having in consideration amendment to Section 5, the question being, shall amendment to Section 5 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Amendment to Section 5 is adopted. Now, having in consideration amendment to Section 18. Question being, shall amendment to Section 18 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, and amendment to Section 18 is adopted. There being no objection, correction to title be considered read in full. We want to go all. We're going to do correction to title? I don't think so. We didn't have any conflict.
Senator Thane, that the correction to title be adopted.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Correction to title is adopted. Just for clarification, A3 has failed because it was in conflict with Section 2 and A2. Now under consideration Amendment A9, amendment to Section 2. The question is, shall Amendment to Section 2 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 2 is adopted. Question being, shall Amendment to Section 4 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 4 is adopted. Question is, shall Amendment to Section 5 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 5 is adopted. Question is, shall Amendment to Section 6 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Durst, what are your ayes?
Mr. Chairman, a point of order.
State your point.
Mr. Chairman, just need clarification from the chairman as to which sections of A9 are in conflict with A2 as stated previously.
The only conflict was in the...
Mr. Chairman, I apologize.
Senator Davis?
The inquiry is moot. The time to have made the inquiry was at the time that the chairman made the declaration. The A2 has failed. It is no longer before the committee of the whole, and the inquiry is out of order.
Actually, A2 has passed.
My
A3
apologies.
has failed, and the question was, were any of these sections in conflict?
Oh, I apologize, and I apologize to the senator.
And the conflict was in the amendment to Section 4 and the amendment to the bill in A2. That's what we talked about, though, with Mark. Committee of the whole will be at ease. I'll be called the chair. Committee All Senate return to order. While we're at ease, there was a clarification made that there was a conflict between Section 4 of A9 and the amendment to the bill in A2. Therefore, the Chair declares that the amendment to Section 4 in A9 is lost. Which one are we voting on now? We'll now have under consideration amendment of Section 7. The question is, shall amendment to Section 7 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 7 is adopted. Question is, shall amendment to Section 8 be adopted? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Amendment to Section 8 is adopted. Question is, shall amendment to Section 12 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 12 is adopted. Question is, shall amendment to Section 13 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Amendment to Section 13 is adopted. Question is, shall amendment to Section 14 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Amendment to Section 14 is adopted. Question is, shall amendment to Section 15 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Amendment to Section 15 is adopted. And before we do the title on this one, I want you to realize that we may have to have a corrected title put together because of the lost on Section 4. So we'll have to take a look at that when we get the bill engrossed. Being no objection, correction title be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Getty, seconded by Senator Mortimer, that the correction to title be adopted.
Heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Correction title is adopted. We'll now have Amendment A6, which is an amendment to House Bill 221. There be no objection. Amendment to Section 5 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Durst, seconded by Senator Work, that the amendment to Section 5 be adopted.
Senator Durst recognized to open debate.
Mr. Chairman, just a very quick explanation to the amendment. It's simply changing it so that the local school district, who I suspect in debate here in the next little bit will hear are the locally elected school members of our school boards. They should be the ones that we have leave the determination for. I'd like to make sure that that's the case when we create charter schools as well. If we're going to talk about them and other things, I think it's only consistent to keep that the case with charter schools too. And so all this amendment does is remove the word shall not and restore the word must, and so that our school district boards of trustees have to have the petition sent directly to them. It's a very simple amendment. I think it helps with our consistency of saying that we support our locally elected school board officials. With that, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Getty.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Senate, understand that this is only virtual public charter schools. The challenge is what school board should be presented a petition for a virtual charter school that may have enrollment from all the districts in this state. That's one of the reasons that virtual charters were directed to the Charter Commission, and I think they're appropriately kept there. Although the language would allow virtual charters also at universities if the bill is passed when it gets to the floor as amended.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Or that was debate in opposition. Is there further debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Durst recognized. Closed debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chairman, debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 5 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Nay. The ayes have it, and the amendment to Section 5 fails.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Fulcher.
Mr. Chairman, point of inquiry, please. Is it the chairman's intent to review the correction to title on 221, or is the chairman ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion.
Very good. Mr. Chairman, I move when the committee rise, the report is had under consideration. House Bill 221 returned same as amended without recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Motion's adopted. Committee of the whole now have under consideration Senate Bill 1147. And we do have 3 amendments, and I do not consider any of those in conflict. We'll go through each one of those and present debate, opposition. We'll close it. We'll vote on that amendment, and we'll go on to the next amendment. There being no objection, Senate Bill 1147 will be considered read in full. Being no objection, amendment to Section 1 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Geddes, seconded by Senator Mortimer, that the amendment to Section 1 be adopted.
Senator Geddes recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is clarifying language. There was some concern that we weren't explicit enough, and we added other than compensation and benefits to make it more explicit. And also then a few words on page 2 in addition to the language on page 1. With that, Mr. Chairman, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Seeing none, Senator Geddes recognized to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 1 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 1 is adopted. Being no objection, correction title be considered read.
Moved by Senator Geddes, seconded by Senator Mortimer, that the correction to title be adopted.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Correction title is adopted. We'll now have under consideration A2. There being no objection, amendment to Section 1 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Buckner Webb, seconded by Senator Durst, that the amendment to Section Section 1 be adopted.
Senator Durst recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a very simple change. If you direct your attention to Section 1 of the bill, page 1, lines 32, currently the language says shall have a one-year contract, one-year duration. This amendment simply would change shall with may, and let me explain why we'd like to do that. I've heard from school districts in the state that have expressed the desire to have the flexibility to offer a one-year contract, but not be required to offer a one-year contract. This doesn't prevent the issuance of a one-year contract at all. All it does is it tells the district that if they chose to do more than a one-year contract, they'd still be able to do that, which some districts currently do today. So if it's a matter of local control, or asking districts, we're giving districts the flexibility and the autonomy to make a decision for themselves as to what they would like to do. And that's really the extent of the change, is just to be able to create some more flexibility, give those local districts the option as to whether or not they want to do a one-year contract or a multi-year contract. So with that, Mr. Chairman, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Senator Geddes.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, fellow senators, this may sound pretty innocuous, allowing a school board to make an extended year contract, but here's the problem. How do you ever get that back? That's the problem we've got with the Evergreen Clause right now. If a school board today decides to offer a multi-year contract and 10 years down the road the school board doesn't want that, I don't think they have the ability to change it if this simple change in language is enacted. I would urge you to oppose. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further debate in opposition? Seeing none, Senator Durst recognized closed debate.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, fellow senators, I guess my point would be in response to the debate in opposition is that why, as a state, are we advocating a top-down mandate? We're saying, in the legislation as it's currently drafted, that we as a state know better than our locally elected school boards, that we can't give them, that we don't trust them to make a decision for themselves. And so we're saying that they shall do it instead of that they may do it. If a district wants to offer a multi-year contract, they should be allowed to do it. We as a state should not be with a heavy hand telling them what they have to do. We've already had that discussion as a state in the last election. The decision was clear. Other districts throughout the state of Idaho have asked clearly to be able to be given the choice as to what they would like to do. I think it's foolhardy and I think it's unfair for us as a state to tell them how to operate their districts. If they choose to give a multi-year contract, then, and that's not something that the patrons of that district support, they can go to the ballot box and unelect those trustees and change those things. With that, Mr. Chairman, debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 1 be adopted?
Division is requested.
Senate, okay. Can we call division? We can't, May the whole be at ease. Let me call the chair.
Just to double check, just to make sure.
It says all the rules apply in the Senate apply. When you go into the any order, all the rules apply, and you can ask for a committee of Senate rules, the Senate as far as that government proceedings committee. So if somebody, it doesn't say anything in there, no roll call, but you still have standing. So the rules of the Senate, which allows, if you got support, to have a division.
As long as they have two people on the bid.
Yeah. That would be my ruling. You track all this work.
May the whole Senate return to order. Division was requested on the vote. Everyone please take your seats so we can vote. All those in favor, please rise. Opposed, please rise. There's no doubt, and the amendment to Section 1 fails. We'll now have under consideration Amendment A3, Be no objection, amendment to Section 1 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Durst, second by Senator Schmidt, that the amendment to Section 1 be adopted.
Senator Durst recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know the late hour is getting late, so I'll be as quick as I can to be as thorough as possible. All this amendment does is requires that before an agreement is reached, that there be an agreement by the parties that are privy to the negotiation process. This is an issue of fairness, from my perspective. If we're going to be changing the nature of these contracts, then those that are being impacted by the contracts should agree first. Otherwise, we're in a position where we're favoring one of the other. And if you take into consideration other legislation that's been passed by the chamber across the rotunda and is likely to be taken up in this chamber in the very near future, not having this provision in there really tilts the scales when it comes to a negotiation standpoint. All this is trying to do is make sure that there's acquiescence on both sides so that we can go forward in a collaborative manner, a manner that's consistent with what I believe has worked in the past in terms of a negotiation standpoint. And so, Mr. Chairman, debate is open.
Debate being open, sir. Debate in opposition. Senator Getty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senators, I see two problems with this. First, we have a budget timeline. Our school districts have to submit their budget, I believe it's July 1. And if an agreement has not been reached, I put to you, how do they submit a budget when open items are someplace between 80 and 85% of that budget? The second issue I see is potential. If we wait until both sides consent, theoretically, contracts for educators could terminate. And then how do they get paid? So I think this amendment hurts both sides in the process. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there further debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Getty is recognized to close debate. Or Senator Durst, excuse me.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure that I want Senator Getty closing debate.
Yeah, I don't think you do either.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not that I'm sure it'll matter, but it seems to me that if a teacher was under the impression that by not agreeing they wouldn't get paid at all, I'm not sure they'd continue their fight. What I'm saying is that if we tip the scales far enough, there's no reason to have a negotiation at all. And so we should make a decision as a state. Is that something that we want? Is that a road that we want to go down? Because the deck is being stacked, and that's just the reality. We are stacking the deck on one side and saying to the other side, deal with it. I think it's only fair if we give both sides equal footing in the negotiation process, or just get out of the negotiation business altogether. Mr. Chairman, debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 1 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Nay. Would those in favor of the motion please stand? Thank you. Those opposed to the motion, please stand. Would you guys speak up just a little bit more? So you can help me out just a little bit.
Mr. Chairman, can we go easy for just a second, please?
Up to call the chair. May the whole Senate return to order. And amendments to Section 1 did fail for clarification.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Fulcher.
Mr. Chairman, I move that when the committee rise, the report is had under consideration Senate Bill 1147, returned same as amended without recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, second the motion.
Heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Committee of the whole will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1148. Being no objection, the bill will be considered read in full. Just for clarification, there are three amendments again. A1, A5 are in conflict. A3 is not in conflict and will be handled separately. Again, we'll go through and have opening and closing debate on each of the amendments. We'll come back and vote on A1. If it passes, then A5 is lost. If A1 fails, we'll vote on A5. There being no objection, Senate Bill 1148 will be considered read in full. Being no objection, amendments to Section 2 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Getty, seconded by Senator Mortimer, that the amendment to Section 2 be adopted.
Senator Getty is recognized to open debate.
Mr. President, I'd like to yield my time at opening debate to the senator from 8.
Senator Thane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment, I was concerned that it was a little confusing of when these negotiations would take place, and this amendment makes it clear that these negotiations take place during the negotiation period, that there talks about the standard teacher contract, and that's the main clarification of this amendment, is that the rest of the bill talks about the length of teachers' salaries and if they can be reduced or not. But I wanted to make sure that this amendment clarified that this did not take place during the school year, but during that negotiation process, and would impact the teacher contracts for the coming year. With that, Mr. Chairman, the debate is open.
Debate being open, sir. Debate in opposition. Hearing none, Senator Thane's recognized to close debate.
Debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 2 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 2 is adopted. Chair declares A5. Oh, excuse me. We do need to debate the whole thing. That's right. I apologize. Okay, we're going to back up. And I apologize to that. I know we're all getting tired, and I apologize for keeping you here longer. We'll now have into consideration amendment to the bill. Being no objection, amendment to the bill be considered read in full for A5.
Moved by Senator Buckner Webb, second by Senator Stinnett, that the amendment to the bill be adopted.
Senator Stinnett is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry, I was kind of a little all over the place, so you'll excuse me trying to catch up here. In this amendment, it removes the portion of Senate Bill 1148 relating to the issuance of renewable contracts by reverting to current practice and restoring the language that was pulled out of Idaho Code 33-315. That code reaffirms assumptions of continuous employment for professional personnel, including nurses, librarians, and other staff. I believe this action will serve to support Idaho's ability to retain experienced, dedicated people committed to our children. And, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to defer the rest of my time to the senator from 18.
Senator Durst.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not going to add a lot. Essentially what we're talking about is the issue of continuing contracts. The legislation, as it's written, eliminates them. And if we're going to look at that as a major policy discussion that we as a state had in November and throughout the entirety of 2012, it was clearly stated, I think, by those that elect us, that continuing contracts should not be dispensed with. And so it seems to me that if we're going to heed the call of those that elected us to be here, that we should heed that call and we should support this amendment so that we can continue to give our teachers the assurance that they might be able to have a contract from year to year without the, frankly, the real angst and trepidation and concern that would come from the lack of this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Senator Getty.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Senate, I believe that all the language here talks about continuing contracts. They're called renewable contracts in this language. I believe the root of the matter is in sub 3, where we're talking about contracts that can be renewed for a shorter term, a longer term, the same length, or greater or lesser or equal salary. I believe that's the debate and issue, not the fact that that continuous contracts are not available, and correctly it should be renewable contracts. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there further debate in opposition? Seeing Senator Stinnett or Senator Durst recognize closed debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that this decision has been made by those that elect us. I'd like us to respect their decision and support this amendment.
Debate being closed, and again, just for clarification, we're going to first vote on A1. If it passes because it is in conflict with A5 will be lost. Question is, shall amendment to Section 2 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. No. Ayes have it, and amendment to Section 2 is adopted. Amendment A5 is lost. We'll now have under consideration still Senate Bill 1148, amendment to Section 1. There being no objection, amendment to Section 1 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Durst, second by Senator Schmidt, that the amendment to Section 1 be adopted.
Senator Durst recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, on my crusade to try to make these negotiations more fair, I have this amendment. The amendment to Section 1 simply adds a new subsection, Section 5. And the purpose of this is we know that because there will likely be legislation that passes this chamber and signed by the governor that requires the last best offer of our trustees to become the deciding offer, that, again, tips the scales of the negotiation process. And so this amendment applies equally equally to both parties of the negotiation process, not just to the teachers, not just to the trustees. It applies to both. So it doesn't harm one more than the other. All it's saying is that in the process of negotiating a contract, that if an offer is made, then a counteroffer that's materially different has to be supplied within 14 days, unless it's after the May 10th timeline, in which case there's a 48-hour requirement. And why 48 hours after May 10th? Because you're getting to the last 30 days of that negotiation. And if you waited 2 weeks, you'd have one response, and that would be it. Now, the question is, why does it need to be materially different? Well, because if we want good faith negotiations, then it seems to me that we should require that both parties are sending changes back and forth instead of just being recalcitrant and sending the same offer over and over and over again. This shows that there's actual work being done. Much like in a court proceeding, if an offer is made or if a judgment is pending and the respondent doesn't respond to the judgment, that change or that judgment is held, and that's what goes into the place. The same process would occur here. What we're really asking for is a true negotiation process that's fair and one that holds both parties to the same standard to make sure they're negotiating in good faith. With that, Mr. Chairman, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Senator Getty.
Mr. Chairman, the good senator from 18 has a good point here. The problem with this amendment is this amendment deals with master contracts and negotiation. It's being inserted into code for individual teacher contracts. It just doesn't work there.
Further debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Durst recognizes closed debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll beg to differ with the senator from 4. I think that this is an appropriate place for this amendment. It's talking about the way that those teacher contracts are agreed to. What we're saying is that those contracts are being debated back and forth. We're talking about the dollars and cents of how much a teacher is going to be paid. We're not talking about things like evergreen clauses or workplace conditions or those, bus duty. We're talking about dollars and cents, what the compensation packages look like. This is wholly appropriate for it to be in this place, because that is ultimately the bottom line, is how our teachers are getting paid. And if both groups decide that they need to have this negotiation in good faith, they should both be held to the same standard. They should both need to be responsive to offers. Right now, the current practice is set up that if, for example, if the Teachers Association that's representing the teachers in that district were to throw out an offer in May or in April, there is nothing that binds the trustees to respond to until any period of time later. And because we're going to have a responsibility for last best offer in code, that in my opinion is disproportionately unfair to the teachers. They need to know that there's going to be a responsive give and take throughout this contract negotiation process, that we know there's a time period. And I just might point out, Mr. Chairman, just very quickly, we've heard in committee that there's not a set period of time for how long it takes for these responses to take place. And in fact, it's been suggested to us, it could take as much as a month and a half to 2 months to respond to offers. That's not fair when you have a last best offer statute in place that tells the teachers that if you don't like our offer, take it or leave it. This at least sets it up so that they have some certainty to know that we're going to be making some movement, and dialogue starts sooner. So hopefully we can avoid that circumstance from happening. I'd urge support of the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Debate being closed, the question is,
Chairman, I call for division.
Division's been called for and supported. Question is, shall amendment to Section 1 be adopted? All in favor, please stand. Opposed? Stand. The motion fails, and amendment to Section 1 is lost.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I move when the committee rise, it will report it has had under consideration Senate Bill 1148, returned same as amended without recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, second the motion.
Heard the motion. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Committee of the Whole will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1166.
Mr. Chairman, ask unanimous consent. Senate go to you, Chairman.
Committee of the Whole will be at ease, subject to call. Chairman. Keep smiling. But there's good news. We're only going to do the First Amendment, pull on the other two. Committee of the Whole Senate come back to order. We'll now have under consideration Senate Bill 1166.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Nonini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. After consulting with some members of the body, I would, I'm not sure, Mr. Chairman, if I need a unanimous consent request, or as the maker of the motion, I would like to pull A4 and A5, the two amendments related to 1166.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. Committee of the Whole has under consideration Senate Bill 1166. There being no objection, the bill will be considered read in full. Being no objection, amendment to Section 3 will be considered read in full.
Moved by Senator Baer, seconded by Senator Sidaway, that the amendment to Section 3 be adopted.
Senator Baer is recognized to open debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 1166 deals with a series of fee increases. I handed out a paper to you that clearly delineates that the survey industry is being underfunded for the services that they receive. The amendment deals with two things only. Number one, if you read on line 4, it says line 4 provides for an exception from the proposed $9 fee only for reindeer and fallow deer for the annual inventory fee. The fee on reindeer is currently $3, and the department expects that to remain the same at $3. The second thing that the bill does is it provides that import, export, and transfer fees shall not apply and be collected if the cervidae are going directly to slaughter or to a packing house. And that reason why that is because the department only does very minimal work, if any paperwork, when the cervidae go to the meat processing plants. With that, Mr. President, debate is open.
Debate being open, is there debate in opposition? Senator Smith.
Mr. Chairman, just for an inquiry, Senator 31.
Senator Baer, would you recommend?
I would respond.
Thank you. State your question, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, and maybe I'm not understanding this, but so on line 4, we're accepting or we're cutting out fallow deer and reindeer from this increased assessment. And then I guess what I'm wondering is how many of those are in this top line of the handout, the assessment fee?
Senator Bear?
Very few, 20 or 30 animals in the state.
Thank you.
De minimis.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I should have gone through you. I apologize.
That's fine.
Mr. Chairman.
For what reason do you rise?
Mr. Chairman, under Rule 39H of this of the Senate rules, I want to declare my conflict of interest, and I would ask that it be spread upon the journal that I do own an elk ranch, and
Senator,
I make part of my living for that.
We kind of went through this the other day, and we don't exist, so there's no place to actually
I know
put
we don't
this.
exist.
So we've been non-existing now for 2.5 hours. But it is noted, and your floor mates appreciate it. Thank you. Is there debate in opposition? Hearing none, Senator Bear is recognized to close debate.
Thanks. I'd like to thank the good senator from Senator Nonini and Senator Durst for their consideration and their kindness. With that, Mr. President, debate is closed.
Debate being closed, the question is, shall amendment to Section 3 be adopted? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Amendment to Section 3 is adopted. Senator Fulcher.
Mr. Chairman, I move when the committee rise, a report is had under consideration, Senate Bill 1166, returned same as amended without recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, second the motion.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Fulcher.
Mr. Chairman, I move the committee rise and report.
Mr. Chairman, second the motion.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Committee of the Whole is dissolved. Easy for you to laugh. Yeah. No, him. I shouldn't say him. The president.
Big up.
Shut that off. Yeah, shut it off.
We're going to go in the 13th?
We're still on the floor. Just finish it up. I think those 4 pages. Oh, sure. I thought that's what you meant when go ahead. Okay, bye.
Senate will come to order. Senate's 14th order of business. Senator Winder.
Thank you, Mr. President. We, your committee of the whole Senate, beg leave to report we've had under consideration Senate Bill 1118, House Bill 206, House Bill 221, Senate Bill 1147, Senate Bill 1148, Senate Bill 1166, and returned same as amended without recommendation. Further report that we've had under consideration House Bill 205, report progress, beg leave to sit again. Mr. President, I move for adoption of the report.
Senator Stinnett.
Mr. President, second the motion.
Been moved and seconded. The Senate adopt the committee report. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been adopted. Senate Bills 1118, 1147, 1148, and 1166 will be referred to the Judiciary and Rules Committee for engrossing. The amendments thereto will be referred to the Judiciary and Rules Committee for printing. House Bills 206 and 221 will be filed for first reading as amendment, and the amendments therefor will be referred to the Judiciary and Rules Committee for printing. The following measure will hold its place in the 14th order of business, House Bill 205.
There is no further business in the 14th order, Mr. President.
Senator Davis.
I ask unanimous consent, Senate to return to the 13th order of business.
Objection. Senate will return to the 13th order of business. Senate third reading of bill. Senate's at the 13th order of business. Senator Davis.
And I ask unanimous consent bills in 13th order be reordered, placing House Bill 248 at the top, followed by House bills as amended in the Senate, if any, followed by Senate bills from the Finance Committee, followed by House bills that are non-appropriation bills, followed by the remaining House bills.
Without objection, Senator be at ease. Ready? Senate will come to order. Since the 13th order of business, you've heard the unanimous consent request. Hearing no objection, the 13th order of business will be so reordered. Senator Davis.
Mr. President, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to advance to the 15th order of
Without
business.
objection, Senate advance 15th order of business, miscellaneous business and adjournment.
Mr. President, Senators, we're soon going to adjourn until the hour of 9:30 a.m. tomorrow, and prior to adjournment, I ask if there are introductions or announcements.
Announcements.
Mr. President, I'm pleased to sit down.
Senator Hill.
Mr. President, there will not be a chairman's meeting tomorrow at noon. No chairman's meeting tomorrow at noon. Thank you.
Senator Winder.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to quickly tell you that my grandsons, the Twinders, as we call them, are celebrating their 4th birthday today. For those that you were here 4 years ago, you know that when those boys were born, they were just a little over 3 pounds. They were in a NICU unit for almost 2 months, and now you see them. They're doing great, and I just wanted to thank everybody for your prayers and tell you that they're 4 years old already.
Congratulations,
and I'm missing
Grandpa.
their birthday party.
Announcements. Senator Davis.
Well, and of course, my belated birthday wishes to Cindy Sitaway. It's too bad we didn't know about it yesterday. That would have been nice. I move that the Senate adjourn to the hour of 9:30 a.m. tomorrow.
Senator Stinnett.
Mr. President, second the motion.
Been moved and second. Senate adjourned till 9:30 tomorrow. All in favor say aye. All opposed nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.